The chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois.
Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks on Senate 201.
Without objection.
Speaker, I yield myself as much time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in support of S 201. The bill was introduced by Senators Kelly and Cotton, and the House version was introduced by my friend and fellow representative, Mr. Pfluger. The bill would ensure there is a trusted medical research available to pave the way for toxic-exposed military pilots and aircrew to access the VA disability compensation benefits. Colonel Andrew Shurtleff, who testified before the House Veterans Affairs Committee in March, was one of these veterans. You know, he served our country as an Air Force fighter pilot for 23 years, flying over 1,800 hours. The colonel began his career flying the F-15C Eagle and was chosen as one of the first F-22 Raptor instructors. I'm told that one of his proudest achievements was serving as the 325th Operational Support Squadron Commander at Tyndall Air Force Base. Support Operations Northern Watch. The colonel started fighting stage 4 cancer in 2019 at just 41 years old, and unfortunately passed away on May 23rd at the age of 48. My prayers are with his wife Julie and their family. We are forever grateful for his service to this country and to his community. Military pilots and airmen like the colonel work in tight spaces and are exposed to chemicals and toxic fumes every time they fly a mission. However, there's not enough medical research available for VA to simply presume that their cancers are related to those exposures. This lack of comprehensive medical research makes it hard for these military pilots and airmen air crewmen to access and earn these benefits. Each one of those veterans must prove to VA that chemicals and toxins cause their cancer. Many had to fight the VA system for years before receiving any disability compensation, and many others never received their earned benefits before they passed away. S-201 would require the National Academies to conduct a study on whether the cancers suffered by military pilots and aircrew are related to their chemicals and toxic exposure. VA needs robust medical research to streamline military aircrews veterans' access to disability compensation, and VA needs it fast for today and tomorrow's veterans. This bill ensures that research gets done and that our military pilots and aircrew and airmen get the answers they deserve. I urge all my colleagues to support S-201, and with that I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in strong support of S-201, the ACES Act of 2025, offered by Senator Mark Kelly. I'd like to start by thanking all of those who've helped get this bill to this point. Among others, I'm deeply appreciative of the Military Aviator Coalition for Health and their leadership in advocating for this issue. I'd also like to thank my colleagues across the aisle, especially Representative Pfluger, the lead sponsor of the House version of this bill, for acknowledging the urgent need to address the alarming rates of aviator cancers. This isn't a partisan issue. It's about doing right by those who served. Sadly, since we passed the House version of the bill, we have lost more aviators to cancer. The urgency here is undeniable. We simply cannot afford to wait any longer. It is abundantly clear that we must investigate and pinpoint what is driving the illnesses among this population and develop a long-term strategy for early detection and treatment before a cancer has reached stage 3 or stage 4, before it is too late. Members of the Veterans Affairs Committee have often spoken of the incredible legacy of the nation's military aviators, true experts who dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our country. But we've also heard heartbreaking stories of what happens when they come home, often looking healthy only to be blindsided by a late-stage cancer diagnosis and a bleak outlook. In fact, just a few short days ago, at a roundtable I hosted, we heard directly from veterans, caregivers, and survivors about the profound toll this takes. We're talking about individuals in peak physical condition who are running marathons, lifting weights, and acing physical readiness tests only to be stopped in their tracks by cancer. This is a story that tragically is far too common in the aviation community and the broader veteran population as well. We accomplished a monumental task in the 117th Congress with the PACT Act. But we must continue to fight for military aviators and countless others who have been exposed to a litany of toxins and hazards during their service. The ACES Act is a step in the right direction. It is not the fix-all, it is not the end of the journey, but it's the start of one, just like the PACT Act was. But I want to say that I'm heartened by the consensus we've reached with this bill on the need to research aviator cancers, and I'm hopeful we can work in lockstep on behalf of our veterans as we continue to advocate for every one of them. For example, this bill deals principally with fixed-wing aviators. I am hopeful that we will similarly rally around legislation for rotary-wing aircraft pilots. I'm generally hopeful that upon completing this study, we will be significantly closer to understanding the root causes of aviator cancers, and more importantly, we will be able to provide our nation's veterans with comprehensive care, the preventative and palliative care they earn and deserve. I look forward to getting this and other critical exposure legislation to this body and sign into law. I hope my colleagues will continue to rally around our efforts. And that is why I support this legislation and encourage my colleagues to do the same. I reserve the balance of my time, Mr.
Gentleman
Speaker.
reserves. The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. At this time, I would like to yield as much time as he may consume to my good friend from Texas and the sponsor of the House side of this legislation, Mr. Pfluger.
The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chairman. I rise today not just as a member of Congress, but as a wingman, a service member to those in uniform, and in strong support of S201, the Aviator Cancer Examination Study Act, or the ACES Act. Far too many of our military aviators and aircrew are being diagnosed with cancer at troubling rates. A 2021 Air Force study supported by the additional Department of Defense research found that aviators face a 29% higher likelihood of testicular cancer, 24% higher likelihood of melanoma, and a 23% higher risk of prostate cancer compared to their civilian counterparts. These are incredibly healthy, in shape, well-tested individuals, and yet they have almost 30% higher cancer rates than the average civilian population. And Mr. Speaker, these numbers tell a painful story. When brave men and women volunteer to defend our nation from the cockpit, they shouldn't face a second battle against cancer without our full support. This is why this legislation, led by myself and by my friend from California, Mr. Panetta, in the House, and in the Senate by Senators Kelly and Cotton, is critically necessary. The ACES Act directs the Department of Veterans Affairs to partner with the National Academies of Sciences to conduct a comprehensive study on the prevalence and causes of cancer among military aviators. We need to know the why, and we need to provide our airmen with the air cover for their own health. By identifying the unique risk factors associated with aviation service, we can implement targeted screening protocols that enable earlier detection when treatment is most effective. This leads to faster access to care and benefits, significantly improved survival rates, and more time with loved ones, and the opportunity for continued service. This bill builds upon previous research that has been done, but it goes the distance, and it increases the pool to the veteran population, not just those that are active duty, but to those who have previously served as aviators. I myself am an Air Force fighter pilot with over 20 years of service, and I fought along the best that this nation has to offer. But I've also stood beside too many of my brothers and sisters as they faced their toughest battles, not in the air, but when they got home, in the hospital rooms, fighting a disease that they never saw coming. That's the story of my friend, Colonel Andy Pablo Shurtleff. In March, Andy did a wonderful job of testifying before the Subcommittee on Disability Assistance and Memorial Affairs, sharing how a sudden cancer diagnosis brought his promising career to an abrupt end. He spoke with clarity and conviction about how a better understanding of cancer risk in the aviation community might have led to earlier detection, not only in his case, but in many of our friends and many of our wingmen, detection that could have saved his life and their life. Shortly after that, on Friday, May 23rd, my friend Pablo lost his battle with cancer. In his final days, one of his comforts, one of the few comforts that he knew, was that the ACES Act was on track to becoming law. His courage, his voice, and advocacy for other service members should not be forgotten. And you know, there are countless others that I've served with, including people like Colonel Michael Bam Bam Stapleton, and so many others that many of us know. That's what this bill represents. It represents keeping Pablo in the cockpit. It represents Pablo's kids and others in the next generation wanting to sign up for this because they know that we're going to give them that air cover. This bill received bipartisan support on the House floor with a vote of 376 to 5 in May. And the bill has the support of over 20 veteran organizations, cancer advocacy groups, and medical experts because they recognize what's at stake. With the passage of this version of the bill, it will be sent to the President's desk, and I am hopeful that the President will sign it into law quickly so we can fulfill our promise to those who serve, a promise that when someone serves our nation, we have their backs. We will serve them and we will protect them. Today, as we cast our votes on this critical legislation, we stand closer than ever to honoring the memory of heroes like Andy and giving future service members a real chance at early detection, better treatment, and life-saving research. I want to sincerely thank my colleagues who co-sponsored this bipartisan legislation, as well as Chairman Bost, the chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, the ranking member of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Chairman Luttrell, members of the House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committees, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Senator Jerry Moran, and all of leadership for their unwavering support and for moving this bill. Unlike many others in Congress, this was moved with Mach. This was moved with airspeed, and I appreciate that. I'm also deeply grateful to the dedicated volunteers of the Mach Coalition whose passion and persistence helped carry this effort forward, and I extend my heartfelt thanks to Senator Mark Kelly, he himself a combat veteran, a pilot, and an astronaut, and Senator Cotton for championing this bill in the Senate. I urge all of my colleagues to vote yes. There really is no reason that we can't make this a unanimous yes vote in support of the ACES Act. But most of all, my deepest gratitude goes to the thousands of pilots and aircrew members who are defending our nation every single day. We see you, we thank you, we've got your back, and this is the air cover that you so desperately deserve. With that, I yield back.
More speakers, and I'm ready to close, and I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from California is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I have no further speakers, and I'm prepared to close.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask all my colleagues to join me in passing S-201. I thank Representative Pfluger for this legislation. I'm very honored and pleased to be able to support it and ask all my colleagues to do the same. But before I yield back, I do want to say that, that there are many more of our veterans that have been exposed to some toxic substances, whether it's radiation, whether it is something that's going on with our pilots. We have learned recently of the Area 51 veterans who served in the Nevada test sites, who obviously show signs collectively of exposure to radiation and bear the medical consequences of that. We have ample evidence, for example, that our naval service members who serve on speedboats, who've been exposed to intense vibrations may have medical consequences that merit our attention. We know that exposure to overblasts may cause serious traumatic brain injury. Mr. Chairman, in the spirit of this legislation, which I wholly support, I believe that we must do more, and I ask you if we might schedule a hearing for the more extensive examination into the many other types of exposures, environmental exposures, toxic exposures that our veterans are being subjected to, our service members are being subjected to, and let us pay attention to those as well. I humbly request such a hearing. And I yield back, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Illinois is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and understand that we at the committee have hearings and will continue to have hearings on things like this at many times, and we'll take the ranking member's comments under advisement, but we'll set the agenda and figure out what we will have hearings on and what we won't. So, but I appreciate the request. This is why we had these type hearings, and that's why we've got this legislation here today. Speaker, once again, I want to encourage all members to support this legislation. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass Senate 201? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, 2/3 being in the affirmative, the rules are suspended. The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.